Okay. All right. What do you mean, Suzanne, that it involves a narcissist, and what kind of triggers are you getting? It just depends on the triggers that you're getting. It can be, for most people, the triggers are they're sitting in the same place when they're drinking. They're with the same people, and that's a triggering thing. The front room. My front room was a triggering thing for me. I used to sit in the same chair, watch the same TV in the same place, drinking the same beer over and over again, that same routine. So that was a big trigger for me. So it depends on what you want to do. Wanting to drink to ease the anxiety. It's a big thing with, I think most people have a sense of anxiety when they're drinking. It's one of those things where you have the anxiety because of your drinking, and it causes anxiety. So you're getting anxiety because of that, and it heightens the anxiety that you're feeling in life. So you've got this vicious cycle of things. If you get what I mean. No worries, Mohammed. Thanks for that. Somebody else said something about a Craig Beck collab. Yeah, I mean, maybe we're sort of in a move at the moment, so that's why I haven't got in contact with him. But I do like I like Craig's content, so it would be cool to do something. Hey Liz, how you doing? What part of the Netherlands are you in? A nice place. Mary says, I can relate. I want to quit alcohol, but my husband is an alcoholic and has no interest in quitting. The thing is with that kind of thing, Mary, is you can only look after yourself in this. That you can only stop the alcohol going into your system. And I understand that there's all these pressures, but alcohol is not fixing them. The problems are still there. The problems just get worse, I think, with alcohol, because they're going unaddressed. It's one of the problems with that every one of us has with alcohol. We use alcohol as either something to lift us up, lift the emotions that you want, and to push the emotions that you don't want down. And it's those emotions that you don't want. They're there to tell you something. They're there to move you, to give you the energy, if you like, to move in a direction generally away from the thing that is causing you the negative emotions. So by pushing the emotions down, by drinking and not thinking about these things, you just make them worse. So and I understand, there's so many people who are with people who don't want to quit. There's so many people. I mean, if you think about, you've got that dynamic between a couple. When I met Esther, we were both drinkers. I stopped, and Esther didn't want to stop. It was one of the first things that she said to me was, "I don't want to stop. I'm not stopping." But I can understand it from that person's perspective as well, because they're thinking about it from the sense of they have a picture of who you are together, of that unit, and you're. For all intents and purposes, you've been thinking about stopping drinking alcohol for a long time. So by the time you do stop, all of this stuff has been going through your head for such a long time, and then you make the decision to stop, and it's very difficult for the other person because they haven't gone through that. It's a difficult one. Jack, the only time I want to have a drink is in the afternoon, but if I eat something, that craving is gone. It's true. I mean, most people is towards the end of the day. Most people's cravings will come towards the end of the day. That's when you have to fight your cravings most. I mean, when you get up in the morning, there's no craving. There's nothing, no triggers. There's nothing you have to deal with. And it's generally towards that end of the day. Do you get what I mean? Towards 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the afternoon. You can start anticipating the drink earlier on. I used to do that a lot. So 12 o'clock would come. I was in a manual job. We were doing tree surgery. So we'd do all our work, and I wouldn't drink from 12 o'clock. So I was anticipating the drink. By the time I got to the first pint in the evenings, I was really thirsty. So that made the drink go down a hell of a lot easier. It made the anticipation a lot bigger, and it just reinforces then the alcohol and the drink, and it's not good. I find it difficult at the moment because people still drink around you. It's part of the problem. You know, you can go into the most expensive dry out clinic in the world, but you have to come back out into reality. And in reality, alcohol is everywhere. From one perspective, it's tough at the beginning because you've got to cope with that. But that gives you strength down the road, you know, a month or 2 months down the road, because you've already gone through that. You know, if you're in a situation where you're taking some other drug like heroin or cocaine, or something which is illegal and it's not openly used, it's easier to get away from that. You know, you can go into a rehab center, or you can hide yourself away for a while and then come out into society and just avoid that section of it. It's very difficult to avoid alcohol now. It's getting easier to avoid cigarettes because people are not allowed to do it inside, so they have to go outside, and you know, there's a bit of interplay there. So, but the people around you, that's going to happen. It's just one of those things. Okay. I was in Amsterdam once. Esther's from the opposite side of Amsterdam, so the East Coast, the eastern border. Yeah, nice place though. G'day. How you doing, Edward? From the Philippines. I've been drinking 30 years and quit twice. My longest dry time was 1.5 years, then relapsed. Even after 1.5 years on weekends, I still miss the buzz. What helps? I love the Philippines. We have one of our staff is from the Philippines, and she is wonderful. So you've some great people over there. The thing about stopping drinking alcohol is that what most people don't do is they and we're taught this from places like the AA, and in general, we're taught that we're not normal, that normal drinkers can do this, and we're abnormal drinkers, that there's something wrong with us, that we're diseased, we're all this kind of stuff, right? And that puts you onto this idea that everyone else is out there doing something that you can't do anymore. So you've got this, you're missing out on all this stuff. And most people don't get over that because they have this in the back of their heads. Now, if you see alcohol for what it is, just a horrible toxin that is ruining your life, is just sapping you of your energy. You've got two things in life, right? You've got time and energy. Time is a one-way street. You're just going down the time like the rest of us, right? Everyone's got the same 24 hours in the day. Energy is a two-way street. So it's what energy you put in, what energy you can extract from your surroundings, in terms of not only physical energy, but mental energy, and how you expend that energy, how you use it, also how you store it as well, but that's a different thing. And if you're looking at alcohol from the perspective of you're missing out on something, and that this is what people should be doing with their lives, then you're expending your energy in a way which is it's negative to you, because it's dragging you back to that thing all the time. When I was a year and a half off alcohol, when I was 6 months off alcohol, I couldn't stand the stuff and was never going back. And it was because from the beginning, I was putting myself in the framework of this has killed me. I've dragged my son into this life now, and I'm more than likely, if I don't stop, if I don't do something about that, and if I don't do something about my own drinking, and then become a role model to my son and my granddaughter, then that was going to spill over into her life as well. If I keep going the way I am, I'm not going to last until. I'm not going to last to do the things that I want to do in my life, but I don't have the capacity to do the things that I want to do. I don't have the energy to do the things that I want to do. So you have to really look at it from the perspective of how am I going to How am I going to take myself from here? Really look at alcohol for what it really is, that toxin. It's not, you're not hating the alcohol because, there's so many people and they'll take the alcohol out of the equation, but they'll go back into something else. They'll switch it out for another drug. I'm not talking about, it might not be cocaine or heroin or even marijuana. It might be sitting down in front of the TV all night or eating chocolate or doing something, gambling maybe, So there's you have to get away from that instant gratification mindset and start thinking about, so instead of looking behind you, what's gone, you're looking forwards into what you can do. It's one of the biggest things that I've done in my life is left the alcohol behind, but not only pursued this as a job, but there's so many other things that are going on in my life that it would be disastrous for me to go back to alcohol in any way, shape, or form. Not that I want to. So you have to get that framework into your mind. But having said that, you've done a year and a half, right? Yeah. So you've done a year and a half, and you can use that as experience to know that you can do it. Everyone stops drinking at some stage, even if it's only overnight or for a weekend or for a couple of days. So you can stop. So the fact that you've got through 1.5 years is fantastic. It proves that you can do it. And that's one of the biggest hurdles that you're ever going to get across, that you can do it. Now you understand that you've got to almost start back out at the beginning again from a mental perspective, but you can do it. That's a huge step. And that, way stronger than I am at the moment. I'm only here where I am because I don't put the alcohol in, and because I've built that up. You build up the strength bit by bit by bit. I'm sure you felt strong when you'd done your year and a half, so Iskander, I fell off the wagon after 1 week, just as I started to feel good. That's one of the things that you have to stop saying to yourself. I fell off the wagon. You didn't fall off any wagon. You put some alcohol into your mouth. You went down and you had to go through all these steps to get the alcohol, to pour it out and to put it into your body. Saying to yourself that you fell off the wagon, you're kidding yourself. You know what I mean? It's like you're rationalizing things. Oh, I just fell off the wagon. And I'm not trying to be hard on you, but this is the way you have to think about it. You have to think, no, I was going fine. Everything in my life was going well. And all of a sudden I went out and had a drink. That's it. And own up to that fact. And then say, that's what I have to do, not put the alcohol into my mouth, and the first month or 6 weeks or 2 months, that's what it's all about, is getting time under your belt and thinking about what you're going to do in the future. There's loads of different things that I can help you with that, from that perspective. Drinking is such a false sense of security that destroys everything. Yeah. It's the behavior. It's the instant gratification thinking, that mindset, that is the destruction of everything, because everything around you, life is just one problem after another in most people's lives. And it's whether or not you solve those problems or hide from them. Like I said, everyone's got this same amount of time in the day, 24 hours. One of the biggest things in my life is that I've been able to, since I stopped drinking alcohol, I'm using my time better. So I'm using my energy in that. So the same amount of energy that I've got, or more energy that I've got, because I'm not poisoning myself, but I'm getting 2 or 3 times the amount of stuff done in the same 24 hours, because I'm not getting up hangover. I'm not poisoning myself in the evening. I'm not eating crap foods. I'm getting exercise. I'm eating good foods. I'm getting good sleep. I'm drinking plenty of water. But it's that mindset, and it's a compounding effect. So you get up one day and you do something, and that compounds into the next day, and you're adding on to that, and then you're adding on to that, and then you're adding on to that, and it works the opposite way around. When you drink and you shit yourself up in the day, And then the day after, you get up with a hangover, and you go through that day in, a hungover mood, and that compounds into the next day. By the time you get to the evening, you're tired, and all you want to do is just go through the same cycle again of drinking, and then you go through the same cycle over and over again, and it compounds down your life like that. Yeah, shopping. So, I mean, it's destructive behaviors, but it's not the behaviors. You have to think about it from the perspective that it's the thinking that happens first, and then the behavior. So you have to think yourself into the behavior. And at every stage of this turn, when I was saying to Iskander earlier on, that when you're drinking, you can, let's say that you haven't got any alcohol in the house, which you shouldn't have if you're trying to stop drinking, right? And you need to go to the shops to buy some alcohol. So think about everything that you have to do to get the alcohol. You have to go out and put on your coat. You have to find your keys, car keys. You have to go out the door. You have to close the door. You have to go out to your car, start the car, drive to the off-license or liquor store, wherever you're going to buy the alcohol. Go in, take out your wallet, choose your alcohol, pay for the stuff, all of this. And then you go through all the steps that it takes to get the alcohol back, and then you have to open it up and drink it. And every step of that way is a choice. You can make a choice. You can say, I'm not doing this. You can turn around. Do you know what I mean? So is it possible that I self-medicated my bipolar disease? All drinking is self-medication. And all drinkers are self-medicators. The only reason people are drinking is to change their mental state. I mean, people want to go from a down state to an up state. They want to go from an up state to a down state. They want to go from coming in from work to relaxing. They want to go from being hyped up to forgetting about things. So it's changing mental states. So you're taking a drug in order to change a mental state, which is self-medication. I give up drinking and I'm still feeling anxiety, back drinking now. That's what I said. I mean, it's with stopping drinking alcohol is not the answer to the problems. The problems are still there. I mean, the alcohol is stopping you from dealing with the problems, if you get what I mean. So the problems are still there that you have to deal with. I mean, like I said, there's this thing with people drink because they're anxious, and because they're anxious, they drink. And it's this thing where it's feeding into one each into the other. And you stop, you get rid of the crutch. You've still got the anxiety that forced you or caused you to drink in the first place, but you haven't got your crutch anymore. So if you don't deal with the problems and deal with the anxiety, if you deal with the anxiety, like I said, the anxiety is there. Sometimes, there's chronic anxiety, which nobody wants. It's a long-term anxiety that is, there's no real reason for it anymore. It's just a state of mind that people get into. But there is also anxiety that is forcing you towards problem solving. There's a problem in your life and it's causing you anxiety, and you need to solve that problem. Once you solve the problem, the anxiety goes away. From that perspective, anxiety is a good thing. It's getting you to, but it's one of the biggest problems that we've got nowadays is people are trying to get rid of all anxiety. People don't want to feel anxiety at all. But it's part of life. It's what makes you grow. You can't get to the happiness that you want without the anxiety. It's like dark and light, it's like cold and hot. You need both in order to contrast each other. Hey Charles, how you doing? Just moved to Vegas and I'm looking forward to exploring this city sober. I'm not wasting my time anymore being hungover, hating myself in every single day. Good for you, mate. Good to see you around as well. Do you think there's any point in counting days sober? I have had countless day ones, so this time I'm not counting, just focusing. I think it's an important thing at the beginning, Johnny. And the reason why is because we generally, what you want to do at the beginning, what we're talking about here is stopping drinking alcohol. And how do you like when you're losing weight, for instance, right? Everyone can hop on the scale and you can go, oh, look, I've done something today. I've done my diet. I've got my exercise in, and I've dropped a couple of half a pound or a quarter of a pound or whatever it is. You can see it on the scale, right? When you're stopping drinking, you don't see any of that. There's no way of seeing how far you've come because you're stopping doing something. The progress happens afterwards. The progress happens in that, like I said, for who was it? Theo? Anthony, about the anxiety or any problems, it's dealing with the problems. And that's when you realize you've got the progress. It's like when you're in debt and you cut up your credit cards. The progress happens when you start to gradually chip away at the debt. And you see that your debt numbers are coming down and your savings might be going up, or all your savings are going into debt, whatever. With this, I mean, one of the biggest things I think is to get a calendar, get a big red marker and mark off a date, and just all you're trying to do is connect the crosses on that calendar. You don't have to do it for long, maybe 30 days, 60 days. I don't recommend doing it for every day for a year, but as long as you know when your anniversary is, that year is super important, to get over that first year alcohol-free, great feeling. And you don't want to miss that, So from that perspective, it's really good. Stops counting how long I've been sober unless I'm asked, and I'm like, oh, I forgot. Yeah, same as me. Most people do that, AS, how you doing? Esther is in the other room, by the way. Hey, Mohammed, counting sober days is pointless. Just know that you're sober and live in the now, as Kevin often advises. Yeah, I mean, you have to live in the now. You have to plan for the future and have plans for the future that you want to get to. Like I said in the beginning, I think counting days is a good thing. Good for you, Suzanne. 8 days sobriety. All right, this is the last one today. Didn't realize how bad my anxiety was until I stopped drinking. Even months down the road, the anxiety was really bad. I forgot how to live with my own emotions and feelings. Do you know what? I mean, it's true. I often talk about this with about 6 months. No, maybe not. It was about 2 years after I stopped drinking alcohol. I was down in probably 100 kilometers away from where we live here in Spain, and climbing a mountain and doing great up this mountain. It was a hot day, and I'm halfway up the mountain. I stopped to have an apple, and I just burst into tears for no reason. Didn't know what was happening. I started thinking about it, and it was just some of the emotions that were coming up that I hadn't realized that were there. Like I said, 2 years after I stopped drinking, and that made me think about how many emotions. I mean, I had to deal with so much. I mean, everyone, when you're stopping, you have to deal with so much because you're transitioning into a new person. Everything about you is changing. Your potential is opening up, and because if you can see that, if you can see how much your potential opens up by stopping doing the one thing, stopping doing this one toxic thing, then that gives you hope, a big hope, and it gives you this a perspective on life which is really it's wonderful. It's sort of joyous, sort of a thing that you're really moving towards something in yourself, and it doesn't happen overnight. It takes a long time for that to happen, and when you're in that state, it's difficult then to start going, oh, well, I need to start handling all these and figuring out all these emotions that I've had before. That's a difficult thing to do. So all right, last one. Yeah, she's sober 2 years, I think over 2 years now. So it's really good. All right, guys, take care of yourself. And I'll be back. I'm not sure if I'm doing one tomorrow, but another one this week sometime. And we'll see you again soon. All right. Onwards and upwards. Bye now. Have a nice evening or a good day wherever you are. Speak to you soon. Bye now.